A lot of girls with ADHD don't look like what people expect. Many of them look like they're doing just fine, and that's exactly why they get missed. In this video, I'll show you what ADHD in girls looks like when it doesn't match the stereotypes, the subtle signs parents and teachers overlook, and why so many girls compensate so well that their struggle stays invisible for years. In schools and at home, adults tend to sort kids pretty quickly. There are the kids who clearly need support. They're disruptive, falling behind, getting sent out of the class, staring out the window, or constantly pulling adult attention. And then there are the kids who seem okay. They might be quiet and compliant, or they might be talkative, social, even a little scattered, but they're getting by. Their grades are okay or even good. They're not causing big problems. They're not setting off alarm bells. So they get mentally filed under doing fine. A lot of girls with ADHD care about doing things right and want to meet expectations. So on the outside, what you see is a child who is trying. She follows rules, she listens, she may even worry about schoolwork more than her peers. But here's what's happening underneath. Tasks that look simple from the outside, starting homework, keeping track of materials, remembering instructions, are taking far more brain power than they should. Because she's trying so hard, adults often assume she's capable in the way we expect. We think she's motivated, she's responsible, she's managing. The cost often shows up later as exhaustion, anxiety, perfectionism, burnout, or a sudden drop-off when the demands increase and effort alone isn't enough anymore. This one surprises a lot of people because we still tend to associate ADHD with being loud, disruptive, or constantly in trouble. But many girls with ADHD do talk a lot. They're chatty, enthusiastic, and social. And because of that, their impulsivity often gets interpreted as personality, not a signal. They may interrupt, blurt things out, or talk through their thoughts, but they're doing it in ways that are relational and engaging, not aggressive or defiant. What's actually happening underneath is difficulty with inhibition and self-regulation. Talking becomes a way to stay engaged or to manage internal restlessness. Some girls manage that same restlessness through movement, but in ways that are socially acceptable. They might ask to go to the bathroom frequently because it's the one way to get up, move their body, and reset their attention. From the outside, this looks like a polite child following the rules. Underneath is serving the same purpose as more obvious fidgeting or getting out of a seat. Over time, girls get the message that this part of them is just a little too much. They learn to monitor themselves closely, hold things in, or apologize for taking up space. This matters because the underlying ADHD isn't addressed. Instructions get missed. Details slip by. Social dynamics become more complicated as expectations for self-control increase. This is another place where ADHD in girls often hides in plain sight. Many girls with ADHD are more likely to ask for help than to act out. They raise their hand, they ask clarifying questions, they check in with adults to make sure they're doing things right. Asking for help is often a compensation strategy. I see this a lot with bigger, long-term projects. A girl will genuinely intend to work on it, but keeping track of something that far out, remembering it exists, breaking it into steps, knowing when to start, takes a kind of executive function work that's really hard. So the night before it's due, the panic hits. Instead of acting out or shutting down, she asks for help. She goes to a parent and says, "I forgot I need such and such for school tomorrow," or "I don't know where to start." And the parent steps in. They help her to organize it. They may sit with her, maybe stay up late together, and the project gets done and turned in. From the outside, it looks like a win. The teacher sees a completed assignment. The parent sees a child who cares and reached out for support. But what's easy to miss is that the executive function work, planning, sequencing, time awareness, is happening at the last minute outside her brain. And if that parent struggles with similar things, which is very common, this can feel familiar and normal, not like a red flag. Because she asks for help instead of melting down or refusing, the ADHD underneath never really shows itself. This matters because when help seeking is really a workaround, skills don't always generalize. When support isn't available, anxiety spikes. Girls may start to believe they can't do things independently, even when they're capable with the right support. Many girls with ADHD are described as perfectionists, and that perfectionism often functions as a way to prevent mistakes. They may spend far more time on assignments than their peers, checking and rechecking their work. From the outside, this can look like high standards, maturity, or even giftedness. But underneath, perfectionism is often doing a very specific job. When executive function skills don't come easily, being perfect can feel safer than being flexible. If everything is done just right, there's less risk of forgetting something, missing a step, or disappointing someone. So girls over-prepare. They rewrite. They obsess. They use control and precision to compensate for the things their brains struggle to manage automatically. Because perfectionism is usually praised, it rarely raises concern. Adults see a child who is responsible and motivated, not a child who is anxious and working far harder than she should have to. This matters because perfectionism is exhausting. It's not sustainable. And when the workload increases or perfection isn't possible, many girls either burn out or avoid tasks altogether. What looks like a strength early on can quietly turn into anxiety, procrastination, or a sudden drop in performance later. This is one of the most confusing signs for adults and one of the most painful for girls. A girl with ADHD may do really well in some classes or with certain teachers and then struggle significantly in others, depending on how much structure and support is built in. One week she's on top of things, the next she's falling behind. From the outside, this inconsistency often gets interpreted as effort or attitude. Adults think she can do it when she wants to, or she's capable, she's just not applying herself consistently. But what's actually happening has more to do with context than motivation. Executive function skills aren't steady. They're highly sensitive to structure, interest, novelty, emotional load, and how much support is available. When expectations are clear, reminders are built in, and someone is helping her keep track, she may look like she's thriving. When that structure disappears, or the task requires her to plan, initiate, and sustain effort on her own, everything suddenly feels much harder. This matters because inconsistent performance can quietly erode confidence. Girls start to believe the problem is them, that they're lazy, unreliable, or just not trying hard enough, when in reality, their brain needs different support in different situations. This also helps explain why things often fall apart later. As girls get older, school demands more and more executive function skills. Assignments get longer. Deadlines stretch out over weeks instead of days. Teachers expect students to plan ahead, break tasks into steps, manage their time, and track multiple expectations independently. For girls who have been compensating well, this is often the tipping point. The strategies that worked when tasks were smaller and support was built in just aren't enough anymore. And suddenly, the struggle that was always there becomes much more visible. From the outside, it can look like everything is under control, but internally, the cost can be very high. A big part of that cost is emotional regulation. Girls with ADHD often feel emotions more intensely and have a harder time recovering once those emotions are triggered. Frustration, disappointment, embarrassment, or stress can linger long after the situation has passed. And because these emotions aren't always expressed outwardly, especially at school, they're easy to miss. Many girls work hard to hold themselves together during the school day, following rules and managing expectations. Instead of explosive behavior at school, the emotional dysregulation is more likely to show up at home. You might see tearfulness after school, or shut down in the evenings, irritability with family, or a child who seems fine all day and then falls apart once she's in a safe place. Many girls are working constantly to manage how they come across emotionally. They monitor their reactions, replay conversations, worry about saying the wrong thing, and push down feelings that don't feel acceptable. Over time, that emotional effort adds to mental fatigue. It often shows up as anxiety, emotional exhaustion, or a sense that something is wrong, even when they can't quite explain why. Some girls become increasingly withdrawn. Others stay outwardly successful, but feel overwhelmed and burned out. The signs were there all along. They just didn't look like the ADHD people have been taught to notice. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. ADHD isn't missed because the signs aren't there. It's missed because the signs don't disrupt the systems we rely on to notice problems. Many girls learn to cope in ways that look responsible, polite, and mature. So this isn't about blame toward parents, teachers, or even the girls themselves. It's about updating what we look for. Less disruption doesn't mean less difficulty, and coping doesn't mean a child isn't struggling. The earlier we recognize these patterns, the sooner girls can get support that actually matches how their brain works, but before exhaustion, anxiety, or burnout become the loudest signals. If this video helped you see ADHD in girls a little differently, I'd love for you to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, or hit that like button for me. My next video is called ADHD and Anxiety, What Every Parent Needs to Know. In it, I'll break down how ADHD and anxiety overlap, how they differ, and why girls are so often misunderstood when these two get tangled together. That video is coming soon, and it's an important next piece of this conversation.